You'd all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance, please. Pledge allegiance to the flag
under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Why does this keep showing up on my face?
Thank you. So the agenda for tonight is approval of minutes, superintendent's report, assistant superintendent's report, and I don't think we'll hear from Anita because I think she's in London. The school committee member reports, approval of the Belize International trip, discussion of the ELL program, first read of the Student Opportunity Act plan, citizens' request, an executive session, the first one to deal with negotiations for the superintendent's position, and the second one is to consider the purchase and exchange, lease, or value of real property at 15 East Main Street. Thereafter, we would adjourn, but we will go back into open session after executive session in order to operate on any of the conclusions that we come up with in executive session. So with that, is there a motion on the minutes?
I move to approve the minutes of February 14th, 2024.
Is there a second?
I second.
There you go. Amber, superintendent's report, please.
All right, I'm just jotting my quick notes. It's good to see.
Excuse me,
Oh,
out of order. We now need to vote on those minutes. All those in favor?
Steve, I'm going to abstain because I wasn't there.
Okay. So it's 4-1, 4-0-1. Okay, Amber, thank you.
All right, yeah, it's okay, I was organizing my notes. I wanted to make a few comments on behalf of Anita, our Director of Finance, who isn't with us. They had a family emergency, and they are out of town, and Anita will be returning on Friday. I was able to speak with her. She's been working remotely and been very helpful. She and I are continuing on the active preparation for town meeting. We know that the warrant closed officially last night at the end of the select board meeting. And so the warrant is now official, and between now and town meeting on March 23rd, the work becomes answering questions, attending meetings, and preparation of presentations as we prepare to gather together on the 23rd to do the business of the town. Anita and I have also been working with a small group, inclusive of Steve Durrett, to continue to attend to the busing contract, making sure that we are completing payments for services rendered, but also working with the company to be clear about what our expectations are around the implementation of that contract. I think those discussions are going well. I just want to acknowledge that we continue to work in active collaboration with NRT to receive the level of service that we contracted with them. And I want to thank Anita and Steve and also Sarah for the work to just stay current with what's going on with that. I have been asked to return to FinCom on March 7th. They know that we will be opening the 2 bids that day for article on the ADA compliance at Hastings and the Mill Pond roof restoration. So those 2 articles we will have final numbers on. They would like an opportunity to have me return there and answer questions that night once we have complete numbers. I would imagine I'll start prepping drafts of what our brief presentations would look like on those articles, and if I can get ahead in that, I would be able to use those as a kind of a dry run to see how they like that presentation and what kind of things they want to know. I've also been asked, I say I've been asked on our behalf, and along with any of you who want to join me, to return to the select board on the 12th to answer any final questions around the same types of things, as we just continue to have everybody get their final talking points. And, you know, FinCom won't vote their final articles until right before town meeting. So between now and attendance at the meeting where we're voting, we're looking for signs of support and positive yes votes from the select board and from FinCom on our articles and our budget. Vacation week was quiet, which was nice, and we are happy to be back and at the business of schooling, and weather continues to be in our favor, and so we're steaming along. The main point I would have of discussion tonight is I want to take a moment and acknowledge that tonight is Kristen Vincent's final school committee meeting, as I'm sure many of you will take a moment and comment. But I want to acknowledge my immense respect and thanks and gratitude, appreciation, humor, all of the things that we have shared in the time that Kristen has served as 6 years on this committee and sat in the chair position through one of the most challenging national experiences and world experiences ever. And we navigated it in partnership, and I want to thank you for your solid, steady leadership, your perspective, and your ability to withstand all of the forces that were at play throughout that very complicated time. I think when you serve as a chair, and many of you have, Steve sits in the seat right now, I'll be completing my 10th year, and I think I've had 7 chairs across my time. And all have been unique and individual, but the time that I had with Kristen ended up being particularly unique. So I want to thank you personally, the time, service, and the amount of emotional work that goes into being a member of a school committee. I think until you sit in the seat, you don't really understand the quality of service that it takes to serve on a school committee. So I want to thank. It's great when you actually do it again. So then we really know your commitment. Like when we get you in the seat for your first 3 years, you might not know, but when you actually run again, then there's something that's really special about that. And it means a lot to me that we have had a standing committee that has actively members that have worked to serve 1 to 2 and many, many terms. And Steve's certainly got the award for longest standing membership of service. Kristen, thank you very much. I feel lucky to have worked for you. And we will be giving you some gifts, some recognitions, and some moments, but we will do that after the meeting. And we look forward to having some time with you. And that's my report for tonight.
Daniel?
I'd like to start by echoing Amber's comments. It's been a pleasure and an honor to work with you. You have been inspirational and always supportive, so thank you. One quick update about next week. We have our Professional Development Day on Tuesday, and we have, as you can see, many members of our leadership team here. It's a day with many activities happening for the variety of staff we have. And so our nurses, our clinical support teams, our core academic teachers are all engaged in different types of activities that are meaningful in terms of advancing the curriculum and their teaching. And so it's going to be a great day. We have people from Novak Associates coming to work on Universal Design for Learning. We have a consultant from Mass General Hospital coming to work with our clinical team on mental health issues, and our curriculum coordinators are always up in front of the teachers working with them, and so it's a very important day for our faculty and our administrative team, and so we're looking forward to it.
Very good.
Yeah.
Allie?
I would also like to start by thanking Kristen, and thank you for your service on the committee, and you really helped me navigate this position. So, and you're an amazing role model. So, thank you for everything. And some of my updates for the past 2 weeks: we're having a Black History Month celebration at the high school So teachers have the opportunity to bring their classes down to the library and learn about African American culture and history. The sustainability squad is just starting up at Mill Pond, so I'm going to go to their first meeting tomorrow, and we're going to brainstorm some first projects. And then at Hastings, they've really been embracing the new Trex initiative for the soft plastic recycling, and they've been able to make posters and fun incentive programs. And it's really nice to see the district collaboration on all of these sustainable initiatives. And then finally, the boys basketball team has their playoff preliminary game tonight, so I'm wishing them good luck. Thank you.
A few updates for me. So I am a liaison to the Sustainable Westborough Committee, and I wanted on their behalf just invite everybody to the Westborough Environmental Action Fair. That will be taking place on March 16th. That's a Saturday at the high school. There'll be a significant presence from our school. There'll be several presentations or stations from different parts of the school system, but there also will be student posters. I think there is a student poster competition. So I welcome everybody to come and see how the school is involved in this domain. I'd like to also remind everybody about the upcoming elections and different significant important events for the democratic life of our town. So this Sunday, March 3rd, there will be a candidates forum at the Willows. I believe it's 6 o'clock. Then the following Tuesday, on the March 5th, we'll have the primary elections at the high school. A week later, also Tuesday, town elections. So that will be including the selection for the person sitting right here. And on March 23rd, we have the annual town meeting. As you're probably aware, it's a very important vote for the school. We'll be passing the budget. I hope everybody will come and support us, not just the budget, but also the capital expenses, the capital tickets. And finally, I'd like to, a lot has been said already. I would like to echo what has been said about Kristen. Just from my own perspective, now that I've been doing this for a year, I have a lot more respect for what it takes to do it, but also can imagine what it must have been like to do it during the pandemic. So thank you for doing that for the town and for your service for the 6 years sitting here. I'm sure it wasn't easy. And thank you for all the support I got from you and wisdom and cheering. Thank you very much, and good luck in your next service, whatever you decide to do.
Your turn.
Okay, thank you everyone for your kind comments. A lot has changed in this district in the 6 years I've been serving on the school committee, and I started writing them out, and I was like, oh, forget it. Because there are so many different projects, policies, large and small, that have enabled the public school system to better serve our students. So I'm just really proud to have been a part of all of that work. I've had a wonderful opportunity to meet so many other town leaders and residents who are doing great things, large and small, for our town. I've had opportunities to observe our district leaders and educators that work in front of the students and parents, and also behind the scenes. And so I'm really proud of the talented and capable people who choose to work with our students here in this district. This is my last meeting, but my service on the school committee doesn't end until after the election results are announced on March 12th, so I'll continue to be working for the district until then. But it's been an honor to be a part of this committee. Thank you to everyone who has served in this seat before me and everyone who will serve after me. We have 4 extremely thoughtful, insightful, dedicated, and capable committee members here already, who I know will continue to uphold the values of our district, and I'll be watching and supporting you from the sidelines. Thank you.
Steve.
I have nothing to report tonight, but I do want to use this opportunity to thank Kristen. She's been a real inspiration. She's been an amazing chair and member of the school committee. I want to thank you for your mentoring, all of your wise counsel, your hard work, everything that you've done. You've really been the heart of this committee for many years. So I just want to thank you, and and I wish you all the best going forward.
Yep, I have no updates, but I just want to again echo what everyone else before me has said, which is that we're going to miss you, Kristen. And I've only been on the committee for a very short amount of time, but I am very thankful to you for tolerating us through this learning curve and supporting us through it and giving us all the tips that you can. Very thankful to you for that, and I genuinely hope that I am able to serve as you did and uphold the values of our district going forward. So thank you so much.
Yeah, I'm sure you will. And that's why you run again, because by your third year, you've kind of sort of figured it out. And then you run again, and then you really figure it out.
So I'll echo everything that has been said so far of and about Kristen. I do want to specifically acknowledge the fact that she was the driver about the schedule for interviewing and coming to a contract agreement, which needs to be ratified by the school committee, but to get it done in a period of time. And some people didn't quite understand why the need to move so quickly. And I think I'll explain that now. And that is that in this period of time, the opportunity for choosing a superintendent of schools is quite limited because there's an awful lot of other districts out there trying to obtain, if you will, the best person available in the time frame that they have. And unfortunately, as we started this whole process, a couple of individuals actually got hired by other school districts. And so the opportunity to move as quickly as we did was fostered by Kristen, but we got there because of Tammy Costello. So, and there she is. She's always got to laugh.
Team effort.
And I will be the only one, I guess, with a report in this story. If you recall, a couple of weeks ago, I mentioned the life cycle cost benefit for the failed solar and geothermal. And at the time, the dollar amount net present value in 2023, I had mentioned was 6.7 million. As a result of help from Yakub, that there was one line of double counting in terms of the benefit, but there were 3 months worth of revenue in 2023 that weren't counted. The outcome of that is that the net present value in $23, all in over the 50-year life of the school, is a present value of $8.7 million, which is in effect the original cost, as mentioned at that time, was specifically for the geothermal, and the solar was 3.2, I think, million. And that has all been paid back in that 8.7 million profit present value 2023 in this analysis. And I will say that some of the assumptions that we made in 2019 to present the article for solar and geothermal to the town were based on what we thought were valid assumptions at the time. Some of those things have not come to pass, and others did. But primarily, the revenue stream is not as great as we thought it would be, but even so, it is a justified investment by the taxpayers of the town. And I guess I'll also mention that because it was brand new, that the MSBA did not fund any of it. It was all out of pocket by the town of Westborough. So the fact that we also will get the benefit for it, and there may very well be additional grants that come back to the town, both from National Grid as well as from the federal government, and we're pursuing those opportunities now. And so I felt it important to do that because I know there's a lot of issues about whether or not it was a good investment. But I'll remind everybody that we knew geothermal was a good deal because of what we experienced at Hastings. National Grid, or at that time Mass Electric, basically funded the geothermal system at Hastings School as original cost. We found out over time that by virtue of that heat sink, if you will, for the ability to heat the building, has made a great difference in the cost of heating Hastings School ever since that time. So we knew going into the town meeting that in fact, that part of the system should be very good. And the rest of it has turned out pretty well. There are some other improvements that we can make in that system, and now that we have this answer, certainly to be able to go back to town meeting and ask for some additional funds, either for battery storage or for a fuel cell. And the reason why is because we pay a fairly large amount of money every month, which are called demand charges. And so, as you might guess, with solar not running all night or wind's not running all the time, there is time during the evening, particularly in the beginning of the morning, where we take energy from National Grid. And that costs us a lot because we pay a fee for how much energy that we take, not kilowatt hours, but kVA. And as I said, it's a fairly substantial amount of money, and that particular cost was not known at the time that we started this. Anyway, the bottom line is it's still a very positive project, and I'll leave it at that. Thank you. Next thing is the approval of the Belize international trip. Is anyone here to speak to it? Yes, there is.
We have some faculty joining us who will come up and talk about, we are booking a lot of good trips. This has been exciting. Thank you. Brianna Chaves is here, and she's going to give us some background.
Thank you.
Cross over, there we go.
Thank you.
Do you guys want to go to Belize? You can chaperone. They're signing up to chaperone. They're like chatting over there. This is a great trip. Yeah, definitely. Go ahead and have a seat and join us. So one of the things we've continued to look at is fostering a full range of trips across the high school experience that are pulling from a variety of curricular areas. And so we've seen some nice diversification of trips. So happy to hand this to Brianna and have her tell us about this option.
Thank you so much, and thank you for making some time for me tonight. So we are proposing an international trip led by the science department to the Latin American country of Belize during February break of 2025. I'm very excited about this trip. I was originally drawn to this trip because the itinerary is jam-packed. It's full of activities and cultural immersion, and the activities are really science-centered. This is a specific STEM trip, so I really feel like this trip will speak to and inspire our students, particularly ones who are so passionate about science. And I'm hoping that these students who love what they're doing in the classroom will be inspired to travel to Belize with us and really experience what they're seeing in bio and what they're seeing in chemistry, and be able to talk to science experts in their fields and learn about different careers and what's really happening in the world. And I really like that quote there that says that this is not really a touristy type of trip. The students, I'm hoping, will return and feel like they had a genuine experience and will will be thankful and will have an appreciation not only of the Latin American culture, but also of the human impact that we're having on this ecosystem.
You have, I look at this, you've got up to 30 students that you can take with you, you're anticipating? Is that your top?
That's our goal,
Okay.
because we have a lot of chaperones that are hoping to go. But I would be willing, if students really want to travel, I would be willing to increase that cap, for sure.
Okay. Questions from everyone? This is the best way to help you understand the trip. And I know you always have a series of questions about like the ratio of chaperone to students and.
Do you mind if I ask a
No, go ahead.
Okay. Hi. Are you going to be looking for students currently enrolled in any like specific science classes, or will it really be open to anyone just knowing that it has a science focus?
So we are opening it to current freshmen. So it will be next year's 10th through 12th graders.
Okay.
One question. I like this STEM-focused trip. It's different than all the language-based ones. Is there any location-specific science that they will get to see, that the students will get to see that they couldn't see here in US? Something unique, as far as the landscape, or I don't know, anything that's related to science that will be specific to Belize?
So if they're, I think on day, I think it's a little bit further up, they're visiting a sustainable farm and learning about that climate. Thank you. Yeah, on day 4, we're going to Punta Gorda and visiting that sustainable farm and planting seeds, pruning cocoa trees. So that's definitely something that you can't see here. And that will be a really exciting experience for them and for that particular region to learn about that.
It looks like you get to go to some of the actual laboratory sites and university opportunities, but kind of a global classroom focus, which is different than we've seen.
So along the lines of the, I guess, impact on the environment, is there a specific issue associated with this location in the world versus, say, around here? I mean, we're all experiencing the same problem, but not necessarily in the same way.
Yeah, so this location is great because we're going to be talking about, we're going to be visiting beaches and also the rainforest. So we're going to be talking about issues with deforestation, but also like beach erosion. And they're going to be doing a beach cleanup activity as well. So this location is really unique because it incorporates a lot of different key environmental factors.
Yeah, I don't have any questions. I'm very supportive of the trip. It looks fantastic. I think the itinerary is great. I especially appreciate that it has a science focus, and looking at the itinerary, the different activities and locations that you'll visit, it really speaks to that. So I think this is really well chosen on your part.
Thank you.
Sarah?
Love these trips, do it, awesome.
Okay, if there's no other discussion, is there a motion?
I'd like to move to approve the international trip to Belize.
Second?
Oh, go.
I'll second.
Thanks, Sarah. All those in favor? Aye. Therefore, none opposed.
All right, I'll sign it then. I'm signing it now.
Chaperone to student
I
ratio
know,
of like 2 to
yeah.
1.
Yeah.
That's all right.
Maybe.
Are you going to come back?
Everyone's like, yes.
You can bring them back, and I think because we've approved so many new trips, I think it'd be good to work with Brian to maybe have them consolidate like a showcase night.
Yeah.
Where they can bring back a variety of the trips and let them share. And you would just maybe make that your meeting, and we would make that the core presentation. We could map that into the calendar, but I think you've added a bunch of new trips, so I think it'd be really interesting to kind of see them all kind of in that framework, potentially. Daniel will remember that, and he'll do it with us, so. Thank you very much.
Amber, do you want me to sign my copy over here?
Yes, please.
Okay.
All right, and while the chair is providing his John Hancock to that, your major presentation tonight, we promised we would keep this meeting short for you because I know we want some time to spend with Kristen, and we also need executive session time, which we haven't had in a while, so I'm going to keep us moving. The main opportunity we have tonight is for Letitia Broomfield, to our ELL director, to be able to come up and give you kind of her annual report. I'm going to have her join me at the podium here. Come on over. Letitia is a longstanding faculty member with us who took over leadership of the department last year and has been doing an incredibly strong job to lead the department and has folded into the leadership team very effectively. And it's just a pleasure to have her shepherding the programming and development of our L program across districts. So I'm going to turn it over to her and let her provide highlights too of this year's program benchmarks. I think it is.
Hi, everybody. Good evening. I want to start by saying hello to everyone. And Kristen, I only got to spend time with you that one time, but you're great. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for,
We have a benchmark requirement of great if they're going to be on the committee. It's like a job requirement. Nice, great, all those.
All right, so I'm going to start with the mission. The mission in summary is to empower, for the EL department, is to empower English language learners through accelerated language instruction for academic success and global citizenship, ensuring equitable access while honoring their heritage, language, and culture. So we do this by providing instruction in multiple settings. We connect with students and families, building a learning environment where students can learn and succeed. So this is an essay that was written by a student in Ryan McDonald's ELD class at Gibbons, and it highlights the challenges that this student faced when transitioning to a new school with minimal English proficiency. So it's our goal to be able to build a safe learning environment where students feel like they're a part of the community. And I think this piece that the student wrote, and I won't read it all to you, but this piece illustrates how the student felt kind of isolated in the beginning, but as the student developed English language proficiency, the student felt more comfortable and more as a part of the community. So our students come from various locations, bringing unique narratives and encountering similar obstacles. Despite all of their differences, they are united in their desire to obtain a high-quality education. Our students represent over 20 different countries, with more than half of the English learners in the district being born right here in the United States.
I think that's a very unique stat. You should give that again. I think there's sometimes a perception that our English language learners are all entering the country. I think that's a very unique.
Right.
Yeah.
So I say it again.
Yes, say it again.
More than half of the EL students in the district are born right here in the United States. More than half. So our students represent a wide variety of languages, with Spanish and Portuguese being the most spoken language. However, 33.3% of all Westborough students, both EL and non-EL, speak a language other than English. So this year, 12% of our student population are EL students. We've seen a huge growth this year of EL students in the district. The majority of the students in the district that have moved in are permanent residents of Westborough who have moved from another Massachusetts school district. So the majority of the students within the district, EL students, have moved from another Massachusetts district this year.
I think, can you go back to that one for a second? I think it's interesting. So I like the tracking of that data when we look at, there's a lot of movement of families. And so I think, again, one of the important parts of the opportunity to hear the presentation is, I think people carry some stereotypes sometimes around those perspectives. Like, these are families moving within the US and within Massachusetts who are coming to our community and become part of our ELP population.
So this slide I actually did a couple of weeks ago, but it's important to note that the number of EL students in the district has increased just over the past 2 weeks. So as of right now, today, there are now 482 EL students, not 476. It's up to 482. And there are a few, it might even be higher than that, actually. It might be because some of the students are not yet in the system, so it might be higher than that. So this graphic illustrates how many EL students we have, but how many former English learners we have. And former English learners, they meet the DESE exit requirement to be able to get out of the program, which is 4.2 overall on their access score and a 3.9 in literacy. So students who are classified as former English learners, they've met that criteria. And they're monitored for 4 years, but they can re-enter the program if needed. So they're monitored by the classroom teachers as well as the EL teachers. So after 4 years of monitoring, the students are exited from the program and no longer considered English language learners. This typically takes 4 to 6 years for a student to be considered a former English learner. Some students require an English language success plan, and those are the students that may have not made 2 years of growth on the access test. So those success plans that we give the students, they outline targeted language goals that are shared with the content teacher and monitored by the EL teachers. Our students receive exceptional support from a team of 21 English language education teachers. These teachers deliver English language instruction tailored to each student's unique needs and English language proficiency goals. Instructional methods include small group pullout, pushing groups in the classroom, co-taught models, and instruction by SEI-endorsed classroom teachers. So when I say SEI-endorsed classroom teachers, those teachers, I believe mostly, like 99.99%, yeah, of teachers in Westborough are
100%.
SEI.
Don't be looking for the 0.9. No, all of our faculty get their SEI endorsement, yes.
And that just means they've had coursework to be able to provide strategy, instruction, and support those students in the classroom setting when there's not an EL teacher with them. So this year, we've seen an increase in the number of EL students across the district, particularly Mill Pond and Westborough High School have seen big increases in English language learners. The high school in particular has seen a large increase of newcomer English learners. So this year, we've also seen the numbers for WEC went down slightly. And again, like we said, the highest increase have been Mill Pond and Westborough High School. So it's also important to note, again, that the numbers have increased since I did this graphic. All schools, with the exception of WEC, have welcomed new students who started this week, started on Monday or Tuesday. Every school has welcomed new students. Our newest students come to us from the United States, from Brazil, Egypt, Canada, China, Guatemala, and Afghanistan. Our district has the largest number of English learners in the lower grades. So typically, our students achieve language proficiency and are classified as former English learners by the completion of 3rd grade. So this is a direct result of the high-quality instruction provided in collaboration with the content teachers in the lower grades. Most students are considered former English learners by the end of 3rd grade. So students at different levels, proficiency levels, require varying amounts of English language education according to their needs. So level 1 and 2 students should receive 90 to 135 minutes a day of direct English language instruction, whereas level 3 and 4 students need a minimum of 45 minutes of instruction per day, where we try to focus on specific needs, specific language needs to transition them out of the program. So for instance, there's 4 domains: speaking, listening, reading, and writing. If a student is a level 3 student, but their weakest domain is writing, we try to target that student in writing with the goal of moving them out of the program. The EL department is dedicated to developing initiatives, organizing events, and delivering lessons that involve families, fostering collaboration between content and English language teachers, and ensuring fair educational opportunities for all EL students, and empowering students with essential skills for success, not only in Westborough Public Schools, but beyond in life. So we have a committee, the Curriculum Enhancement Committee, which is led by a group of English language teachers, and they are actively refining the new speaker curriculum that we developed last year to be more useful for classroom teachers and for EL teachers. So currently, the committee is also focused on the creation of a Google Classroom platform. In Google Classroom, they're setting up resources for content teachers that they can use when the EL teacher's not there. So through these efforts, the committee aims to create a more cohesive, effective, and accessible educational experience for both students and educators. So we also have two distinct groups of teachers that are consistently engaged with and contribute to the community of practices offered by the Department of Education, DESE. So the first one we have is the SLIFE Community of Practice, and this is for students who come to us with limited or interrupted formal education. So this community of practice serves as a platform for educators from various regions in Massachusetts to exchange effective teaching strategies. The SLIFE Community of Practice Office offers insight and material on developing a SLIFE program and how to teach students that have had limited or interrupted education. While the newcomer community of practice that we're also involved in focuses on sharing best practices and resources to newly arrived students and their families. So there's been several meetings already on Zoom, generally on Zoom. We've had virtual site visits with other districts that have SLIFE programs in place. And for the newcomer community of practice, we work with Confianza, which is a ESL professional development organization company. Okay. So this year, I was able to lead targeted professional development sessions for various groups of teachers in the district. So this included WEC teachers, so I was able to do professional development with WEC teachers, also with the kindergarten teams from across the district, kindergarten teachers, and within some of the actually in all the K-3 schools, and with Mill Pond teachers. I also have been able to schedule consultation times with content area teachers, and they can sign up for those, of course. Our focus for the ELE team has been on utilizing tools from our data warehouse elevations, intentional planning for instruction, EL instruction with the WIDA standards in mind, and understanding ELE instructional practices as outlined in the DESE blueprint for education of English language students. This is new this year, the newcomer transitional program. In the program, we have an EL teacher, a clinician, 2 paraeducators, and right now there are 4 students in the program. So in the program, educators and clinicians collaborate closely to plan instruction, collect and analyze data, to help develop English language proficiency of the students, and to ensure that they receive the necessary supports for a seamless return to full-time general education classes. They consistently engage with school and district administrators, like Marianne, Kim. And so far, we've observed positive growth in the students, a lot of positive growth. So this program aims to provide intensive English language education for developing basic proficiency needs for the students to be able to express their needs quickly. The teachers focus on readiness skills for learning in school and acquiring basic educational skills. The program clinician emphasizes social emotional skills to foster interactions with peers and adults. By implementing culturally responsive interventions tailored to each student's background, we ensure clear and concise supports to help them gain the tools that they need to be able to be successful. Gibbons. So one of our EL teachers, Sarah Thomas, she did this project with her students. So all of our educators strive to provide a high-quality instruction that builds upon content area instruction while simultaneously building academic and social vocabulary in English. So for this project, students looked at who they are by thinking about their inner and outer qualities, picking symbols to show themselves, and drawing portraits focused on how they look. They made Flipgrid videos to explain the symbols that represent their inner selves and share their portraits to build a sense of togetherness. This project helps students to think about their unique identities and why they matter. So each student did half as a self-portrait, and everything else on the other side represents how they feel inside, things that represent them on the inside. So the great bug debate at Mill Pond. This was a fun one. I participated in this one. For this project, students engaged in a debate on the advantages of eating bugs. And This followed a taste test of various edible insects. Yeah, thank you, Liz Enrique. So I did eat the insects as well. Some of them were not bad. They weren't bad. Um, So currently, the students are now focused on a food waste unit and have begun weighing their cafeteria food to track and record their own food waste. They really had a good time with the bugs, though. I did too.
I've done that one, it's wild.
It's fun.
Yeah.
Going on to the high school, Jackie Quella led a group of students in visiting Plymouth Pawtuxet Museum. So the museum visit enriched the students' understanding of the classroom lessons, establishing a stronger foundation of background knowledge about the country's origins and the initial immigrant groups seeking a better life. It was, for a lot of the students, the very first time they had been to a museum ever. The EL Summer Academy, the director of the program is Sarah Willoughby. So students in K-6 in the Summer Academy, they engage in thematic enrichment activities focusing on an increase in language proficiency. Each week of the program has a different theme for the students to be able to explore. And we have our after-school academies. Gibbons and the high school have drop-in programs for the after-school academies. At Gibbons, sometimes they have the former English learners who come in for extra help. Attendance varies from week to week. At Mill Pond, the teachers run a 4 to 6 week program in which students make paper using different means. They use watercolors and different materials to make the paper that they use for collage and the illustrations that tell their story of their journey to the US or to Westborough. So this is a video that you can watch at a different time, but it's a summary of the Mill Pond program where the kids went through the paper making process. They created their immigration stories or their journey stories, and they also were able to, we invited families in and teachers and the students and teachers. The students read their books to their families and to their teachers. They also had a big celebration with a lot of food from a lot of different cultures. So this video summarizes the event, and I hope you watch it and enjoy it. I love it. It's one of my favorites.
How long is it?
It's 3 minutes.
Play it.
Oh, okay. What do I do on here?
I think
Do I just press play?
Daniel's got you.
No guarantees on
might be
the
a
sound
problem.
here.
Might not have sound, though.
Put your microphone next to the computer.
You don't really need the sound, though. It's actually.
Sorry about the sound.
Will, do you want to put your microphone?
It's-
Put your
Oh,
microphone.
Nothing's coming out.
Okay.
It's just music, right?
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
music.
So we can just watch
music.
it.
You can narrate it.
You can sing. With me. We can sing. We can do our ABBA. We can do our
Where did
ABBA
Chris
number.
go?
It's been fun to watch this project evolve over the years, and it's actually been done at multiple grade levels. And the enhancement of the celebration tells you how much identity and joy that students find in sharing each other's stories, as well as building community that gives them a sense of belonging, but also knowing each other and being seen in their story. And it's really just become such an enjoyable part of the
moving.
start of
It
the
is
year.
moving.
It is. And the food, there's the food. The food is amazing.
Best part. So good.
The universal gatherer, right?
Right.
Food.
Was the food part of the transition, like graduation, going to Gibbons, or what was?
No, it was the
physical-
wrap-up of because when they finish their books, the parents come in, and so and teachers stay, so they read the books to the parents and the families and the teachers, and of course, we eat.
We, again, you see the incorporation of all of their skill work around all of this relationship work and community building. But I think the presentations also to be an emergent speaker along that spectrum, and to get up and read your story, to speak publicly in front of a large group, like so much strength of opportunity. So it's not just celebratory, it's well framed, it's grounded in good academic standards, and it provides kind of all of the things we want from that experience of having families together and students celebrating their work.
And when they do this, this is at a faster rate than normal, because usually in the classroom, we spend a lot more time. So this is an after-school activity program that the EL teachers lead. So they only have, they're boxed in that time frame. So they move at a faster rate. Good. Yeah, so that's one of my favorites. I think Kate made that last year. One click, no? Oh. All right, so on to family engagement. So to effectively teach our English learners, it's crucial to establish a strong connection with both the students and the families. Currently, our Multilingual Family Academy team is organizing a special welcome event for newcomer families residing in Westborough. So this event is now scheduled to take place on April 4th at the Knights of Columbus. It is being conducted in collaboration with the LPAC and other community and school-based organizations. So this initiative aims to create a welcoming environment and provide the necessary supports to families who are new to the area. So in addition to rebuilding the LPAC, because we're still in a rebuilding phase, I've talked to the team about some new initiatives in terms of, that I learned about recently, in terms of building a EL mentor program, a family mentorship program, to assist new families in navigating the school system and provide information on district resources and events. Just another way to make them feel connected to the community. The Adult English Academy, which starts tonight at 7 o'clock for the spring semester, has been running, I think, since I started in 2016. I've been involved in it. So some parents have been with the program since the very beginning. We provide 3 to 4 levels, ranging from beginning to conversational. Several students from the level 4 conversational class have become paraeducators in the district and in some of the surrounding districts. So we support the conversational level in resume writing, interview skills, whatever they need to be successful. Spring semester, like I said, it starts tonight. So if anyone, it runs into April break on Wednesdays at 7. If anyone wants to pop in on Zoom, it is on Zoom. If you need the Zoom link, you're more than welcome to come in. It's fun. It's a good time. I've been fortunate enough to be involved in the program and get to know a lot of the parents by teaching the program. So, educators in our department and across content areas, classrooms are actively engaging students in using the English language, fostering an understanding of traditions and school norms, and warmly welcoming them into our community. Our support extends beyond the school walls to empower students both during and outside of school hours. Together, we strive to boost their confidence in adapting to their new environment. We serve as mentors, educators, and friends, offering assistance to students and their families. By incorporating their cultural background and life experiences, we equip them with the necessary skills to thrive not only in our schools, but in the broader community and in the world at large. The collective efforts of everyone involved is crucial in preparing our students for the journey that they have ahead. I think I may have timed it wrong because I was supposed to end on the journey.
I love the photo. The
So
photos
there's the
of
journey.
them. Yeah.
Yeah.
They're so cute.
So with that, the goal, I go back to our department mission to empower English learners through accelerated language instruction for academic success and global citizenship, ensuring equitable access while honoring their heritage languages and cultures. The ultimate goal is to see our students gain proficiency in English and to graduate with the skills that they need to be successful in the world beyond Westborough Public Schools. That's it. Thank you. Any questions?
Thank you, Letitia. Any comments, questions?
Yes, I have a few. Thank you very much for this presentation. It was actually a little sentimental for me because when I came to US, I was in a program at Northeastern University for international students. So I really applaud you for doing all those social activities, from bonding the students and sharing the experiences, because I can relate to that myself. And I made some friendships that last now 15, 18 years, and they go back to a short period of time at the beginning of the school back there. So I can imagine a lot of these students will be friends for a long time, or maybe for a whole lifetime. So that's very valuable. I have two questions and then one favor to ask. So the first one is, I noticed that at Hastings, at Mill Pond, the number of EO students is the same, 103 students, but there are 5 teachers at Hastings and 4 in Mill Pond. Is it because there is a bigger need? I mean, it's the lower levels at Hastings?
It's always been the bigger need, the greater need, but also this year, like I said, Mill Pond's seen a huge increase. So there may be some shuffling that has to happen.
Okay.
So that if the numbers stay the same, but sometimes they go up, sometimes they go down. But generally, Hastings has a higher number,
It's very dynamic.
usually.
Okay. The other question I had, do we know how we compare to other towns in terms of like how effective we are in bringing the students up to speed? I don't know, is that, do we do any
Compared to
comparison?
Others, I think we maybe have a better rate of exiting students than similar towns.
You can take credit, it's okay. Go ahead.
I'm not quite sure, but I can find out, but I think we have a pretty good record of moving students from, out of the program by the end of
Right.
3rd grade.
Okay, thank you. I would like to see that at some point. And one favor to ask. So I am also a soccer coach, and I had the fortune to help a few students who are EL students, and bring them on the team. And I don't know what can be done, but I would encourage the program to somehow encourage the younger kids, especially in the elementary schools, to participate in the town sports in general, not just soccer, any town sport, because that's a great way for them to blend with all the students, not just
Right.
students like themselves, especially before the travel sports begin, which can be very difficult for the parents who sometimes work on the weekends or they don't even have a car. So if they build relationships early on, when it's in town, it's easy to organize. If there is a way to encourage, I don't know, send flyers, encourage the parent coaches to reach out in some way or make some kind of connection, because there's also a lot of lost talent. There are some students that start soccer in 5th, 6th grade, and I can tell they would have been amazing soccer players. They are, but they already lost many years because they didn't even know, the parents didn't know there are programs like that. The local organizations provide financial aid, so they don't really have to spend any money on that. So I think it would help them. And I've seen students that went through that, that participate in sports, their social life improves as well. So thank you very much for your update.
Thank you.
Yeah, I have no questions, but I just want to thank you for your leadership. This is such important work, and it's really good to know that it's in great hands, so thank you.
Thank you.
Sarah?
Okay, so thank you so much for presenting. It was a very good presentation, very informative. So one thing that I love is this adult program that you guys have started. I don't know when you started it. I want to, have you had it for a long time?
2016.
Okay, that's
'Cause
phenomenal.
I started my first year.
Okay, so I really applaud you guys for that because I think that that's really a phenomenal program. My question is around Hastings and Fails. So if I'm looking at the chart correctly, you've got 103 Ls in Hastings and 27 in Fails. And the resources are split, right? 2.5 to 5, basically you double in Hastings?
Well, Fields has the program, the new speaker transitional program. So one of those teachers is in the program. So they have 1.5 teachers for the 27 students, which is probably now like 28 because a couple more came. And the thing that's different about Fields that makes it different is that they have for the first time this year, they have a higher number of level 1 students, which require more minutes. So even with the 1.5 teachers, they may not necessarily be able to get all of their minutes.
So it's
because
one
the
and a
needs
half
are different.
teachers, not
Yeah.
2.5.
Right.
Okay, and, okay, so then my ratios are going to be off. So what would you say are the ratios? Because I need to understand that. I'm, having toured both schools, they look very different. So I imagine that each school is going to have its own challenges. I'm concerned about the amount of resources being dedicated to the L program in Hastings versus Fails. So if you could just speak to what the ratios are and if there's anything that's being looked into or needs to or doesn't need to be, if you could.
I think, wasn't the slide with the levels, the levels, did I do that?
Yeah, I mean, we don't have the levels by school, but this slide here shows you, I mean, I'm not sure
Right.
what exactly you're driving at in terms of whether you're thinking Fails is overserved or underserved in terms of
And
staffing, but let me just say that they're dramatically different numbers in terms of the 103 at Hastings. And then this data, let me see the one with level 1s and we could break this out at some point for you by school, but the number of level 1s and level 2s, in some senses gets to Yakub's question, you can see how they're clustered in the lower grades in K3 more than they are at Mill Pond. And so they require more intensive services, as Tisha was referring to earlier in terms of the number of minutes. And I think if you looked at Fails versus Hastings, that would be sort of the same thing if we could break it out, but we don't have it broken out here. There are more 1s and 2s that are at Hastings, is that right?
Well, now the number has increased of level 1s and 2s. So the teachers, the 1.5 are struggling to meet minutes.
You mean
Fails.
Fails, not Hastings.
Fails,
Well-
they're struggling.
Well, I was talking, well, so I'm not sure what you're driving at in terms of whether you're thinking Fails is underrepresented in terms of staff or not. So when you're doing
No, I
the
think she thinks
ratio-
Hastings is underrepresented.
I just want to be sure that, I mean, I
Yeah.
imagine you have, but I'm just curious.
Yeah,
It seems like there's, just in the numbers, we've got a lot of kids that need help at Hastings in this, with L. And if you're saying, basically what you're telling me is that the higher need, like level 1 kids are increased at Fails, and that's
Well,
why.
overall, you have to look more, it's not really like the number of students in the building. It's the number of minutes that we have to provide in service. So, for instance, one school could have 5 level 1 students. One school could have 20 level 1 students, but those level 1 and 2 students still need 120 to 135 minutes of English language instruction per day. So when you look at it in that light, it's pretty equitable.
Well,
the-
they're great questions. I mean, I was just kind of running the numbers, so.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, the other piece is you need like sort of like you have to have, because you're dealing with 4 grade levels, K1, 2, 3, right, at Fails, you need to have enough staff to cover those, so that you need a minimum number of staff, even if your numbers are relatively low compared to other buildings, to be able to get into those rooms. So they
Okay,
can't.
so then let me ask it this way. Performance-wise, data-wise, are these students all performing at the same level, or do we see any?
We have great data coming out of 3rd grade across the
The
district.
exit rates are, very.
Yeah, well, the ratios aren't way off. I just think it's a great discussion point. You've got 20.6 at Hastings and 18.6 at Fails. So this isn't like a wide gap. I mean, you're talking about it as reasonable as a class size swing between 16 and 18.
Because
So
you're
looking
using
at-
1.5, right?
I did it by 1.5.
Right, so the chart, that
So,
was
right,
confusing
so the
to me. It says
two,
2.5.
because you have an embedded newcomer program, which has a heavy intensity of staff directed to a small number of students needing transitional support. So I can certainly, I respect the questions.
Right.
I think it's good vigilance, and I want to reassure you that, trust me, the staff keeps us vigilant. I mean, we're asked, we're always looking at the balance of those supports. The principals are sitting here. They've needed to leave, but they are very much kind of proponents of looking at that balance, and they share their data, and they look at their exit scores. They make sure that all the students are getting that same kind of integrity. One of the things that's amazing to me about kind of our L program work in general is just has a lot of really good data sweeps with the access data, the levels work, and the minutes. So you've got like a lot of criteria to benchmark against, so you can look at all of it. And I think the team kind of comes together. Similarly to other types of targeted support, you always use the data cycle to move staff around as needed. Math support, literacy support, sped support, all of it's driven by the number of students and then kind of the service delivery.
Right.
I mean, you're pretty close on that.
Yeah, and I just want to add one thing, in terms of SEI endorsed teachers. So as EL teachers, we can't be there all the time in classrooms, but the expectation is because our teachers are SEI endorsed, that they have strategies and toolkits and things that they can pull out of their toolkit to be able to support those teachers, because we can't, there's no way for the EL teachers to be in every classroom all the time.
And I did hear you during your presentation, you mentioned a few times that classroom like the monitoring isn't just by you or the ELL teachers, but it really is the classroom teacher
Collaborative.
involved in that and monitoring that. So they do have strategies, just like it's an inclusion model, right? Just like they would include students with special needs or all kinds of, learning or social issues. This is just another tool in the toolbox of a classroom teacher to pull out and support the students.
Yeah. So I was coming at it from an equity perspective, and I think that the clarity that you provided about the 1.5 versus 2.5 was a huge piece of that, because on the graph it shows that. So it was confusing, and I think it's important because we've got a lot of parents that, we've heard different things, and we just want to make sure that that's all. That was
Right. No, that makes sense.
I think the other piece of that, when we look at performance benchmarks, you also know that our L students pool into all of our general performance data as well. So when you look at the trajectory of performance, it's a shared effort across everyone. It's classroom teachers, as Letitia was saying, and then her strong team. And between them, our students are making academic progress within the strand of Westborough Public School standards, and then exit program and take off and thrive. I mean, I think it's impressive that the multilingual, diverse families we have are gigantic performance supporters across the quality of type of student that exits Westborough. So that comes from the performance benchmarks of early exit by third grade, so that by Gibbons and the high school, they're fully embedded across anything they want to access. I would say the biggest change in our programming has been more students entering later into like the high school, where they're arriving and we're trying to push them appropriately into the trajectory of a high-performing high school when they have interrupted schooling and they've had fragmentation of transition and their language is emergent. That's a heavy lift, and so that SLAVE program is one that, Tisha's got a very close eye on, and I think is going well. But I'm just impressed by the quality of embedded supports and how they seamlessly can work to move students in and out of their day so that they don't feel like they're missing things. That's the other stuff. You need to pull and give intensive language, but you also need to embed so that they are integrated into their full school experience. It's a fun team, and it's neat when you see how it works.
Right.
Yeah. Any other questions for Tisha?
Thank you.
I do just want to acknowledge the quality of high expectations, driving her team, having joy in the work. Joy in the work really matters, and I think there's a real sense of joy that comes from seeing progress and learning in students coming to Westborough and being able to fold into the school community, and it's a fun team, so thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Right.
Thank you.
And the gift we give you is you can leave. You can go. You don't have to stay, right? All right.
Next up is the Student Opportunity Act plan.
So, right, this is a first read on this that I've given you, as school committee, we've given you a little bit of background. And that this was going to be coming. It's something that's mandated by the state. There's a memo that gives you the background information. There's a link to lots of different material that the state provides in terms of what they expect in the plan. But in essence, every 3 years, school districts need to create a plan that is part of basically, it was like a quid pro quo where the legislature said we're going to increase money that goes to school districts for needy students. And with the increase in money every 3 years, they want to see that you're going to be targeting those students, identifying some of the most needy students in your district, and putting in place some high quality interventions. And so that's the general background. We've developed a plan. I gave you a link to the plan, the draft plan here. And you have an opportunity to look at it. We need to submit it by April 1st, and at the next school committee meeting, we would have a vote on the plan. I think in general, just the quick overview on it, it's targeting students that are high chronic absentee students. The state has an issue with that ever since COVID, with a number of students with its mental health issues to some degree, but it's also high poverty, and students who are coming from disadvantaged backgrounds tend to have absentee rates that are chronic and almost 2 to 3 times higher than the rest of the population in the school district. And so what we're proposing to do as a leadership team is focus on our practices around chronic absenteeism, give a close look at what we currently have in place, refine those practices in using sort of research-based methods in terms of how to get those kids to participate and their families to participate at a level that's more in line with the majority of the students. And some of that means working with our ELL population and low-income population by creating connections with the families and having like a mentorship kind of program for like the newcomers where parents are working with parents to help them understand the school system and the culture in this country, and making them less intimidated by the public schools. And we would do any sort of like, we would keep a database so that across schools, like one of the things is, I know that within each of our schools, we're doing, it's very front of mind, the issue of chronic absenteeism, but we could be better in terms of looking at particular families that may have kids that are struggling across schools. And so it might be one family has, a K-3 student and then a Mill Pond and a Gibbons student, and we just want to coordinate resources across the schools so that we're effectively targeting those families. So in essence, that's what's in the plan. You can see how it's spelled out. I was told we're not going to do a formal presentation on it. You would get a chance to read it. If you have any comments between now and the next meeting, or now, I'd like to hear them so that I could address them before we come back and we could have a vote on the plan at the next meeting.
Okay. Any comments, questions? Probably best for next time, huh? Okay.
Okay, thank you.
That, the next item on the agenda is citizens' request, and I'll ask Kristen to read our policy.
Sure, I'd love to, one last time. We'll just remind everyone of the school committee policy regarding citizens' requests. You must be a current resident of Westborough. Speakers can address the school committee about issues within the school committee's purview and authority. Our policy also states that public comment segment shall not exceed 15 minutes, but again, we've been flexible with that. Each speaker will be allowed up to 3 minutes to speak to the school committee. Written comments longer than 3 minutes may be presented to the presiding chair before or after the meeting. All speakers are encouraged to present their remarks in a respectful manner. Public comment by residents at this meeting is not a discussion, debate, or dialogue between individuals and the school committee. It's an individual's opportunity to express an opinion on issues within the school committee's authority and our role is to listen carefully to what you have to share with us. Clapping, cheering, calling out, or any other noise during or following a speaker is not allowed. At the close of citizens' requests, school administrators may address what was shared by the speakers if they wish to do so. An additional individual follow-up with a speaker may take place in the days and weeks following a school committee meeting. When it's your turn to come up, just state your full name and street address and directly into the microphone. Would you like to organize who's here for
Yes.
citizens' requests?
All those who wish to speak in citizens' request, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 6? And I will pick from left to right and then row by row. So I think, anybody over here? I didn't see anybody. Mr. Conklin.
Boyd Conklin, 8 Water Street. Dear audience, ladies and gentlemen. First, a book plug. Bad Therapy, Why Kids Aren't Growing Up by Abigail Schreier, author, from the author of Irreversible Damage, that's on the transgender issue, an investigation into a mental health industry that is harming, not healing, American children in virtually every way that can be measured. Gen Z's mental health is worse than that of previous generations. Youth suicide rates are climbing, antidepressant prescriptions for children are common, and the proliferation of mental health diagnoses has not helped the staggering number of kids who are lonely, lost, sad, and fearful of growing up. What's going wrong with Americans' youth? In Bad Therapy, best-selling investigative author, journalist Abigail Schreier argues that the problem isn't the kids, it's the mental health experts. Drawing on hundreds of interviews with children, child psychologists, parents, teachers, and young people, Schreier explores the way the mental health industry has transformed the way we teach, treat, discipline, and even talk to our kids. She reveals that most of the therapeutic approaches have serious side effects and few proven benefits. Among her unsettling findings, talk therapy can induce rumination, trapping children in a cycle of anxiety and depression. Social emotional learning handicaps our most vulnerable children in both public schools and private. Gentle parenting can encourage emotional turbulence, even violence in children as they lash out, desperate for an adult in charge. Mental health care can be life-saving when properly applied to children with severe needs, but for the typical child, the cure can be worse than the disease. Bad Therapy is a must-read for anyone questioning why our efforts to bolster America's kids have backfired and what it will take for parents to lead a turnaround. Should shine some light on Sarah McCabe's business model at Wayside Youth and Family and other operations here in Westborough, cashing in on children's mental dependency. And somewhere back in the 17th century, humanity embarked on a courageous project. Until then, it had relied on mythical and religious narratives to organize society. Now it would leave these illusions behind. Science relied on the world as it appears before our eyes. It objectively described phenomena and rationally described relationships between them. This approach of life was expected to be a royal way to truth and to liberate humanity definitively from the dangerous illusions of religion. The era of enlightenment and reason was about to begin. A few centuries later, this expectation turned out to be an illusion itself. The tradition of enlightenment all but led to a reign of reason and truth. Never
Excuse me,
before.
your time is up.
Okay, thank you.
Good evening. My name is Alla Baranovsky. I live at 27 Old Coach Road. I represent We Care, which stands for Westborough Committee for Anti-Racism in Education. I have been coming in here to speak about a serious problem in the Westborough Public Schools, which is the problem of hate speech. Today, I'd like to read to you an email that was sent out earlier this February to 2 6th grade classrooms in Mill Pond. No student names are mentioned in the email. The email is titled Incident of Inappropriate Use of Technology. Dear families of Ms. Coppola and Ms. Neely, I hope this message finds you well. We're writing to inform you of a situation involving technology misuse that occurred on your child's team today. A few students have been using their iPads to communicate with each other through Google Docs and Google Slides. This is not an allowed use of technology, and the students are aware of this. Unfortunately, these students created a slideshow that was inappropriate and offensive. It contained hurtful memes and pictures that were targeted towards others' identities. These pictures and images would be considered hate speech. This group did not electronically share the slideshow with any other students, but we did collect and check the iPads today to prevent it from being spread any further, and we addressed the issue with the students. We have contacted the parents of the students involved. The parents were very responsive and understood the seriousness of the inappropriate content as well as the misuse of school technology. Both school and home consequences will be in place. We encourage you to talk with your child about their technology use and to check their iPads and phones with them. Sixth graders are at a pivotal time in their lives where they're learning so much about the world around them. The power and scope that comes with the internet and devices are areas that require adult supervision and guidance. Thank you for your understanding. Several things are important to note here. First, the headline, Incident of Inappropriate Use of Technology, is entirely inappropriate. The content of the slideshow would still have been considered hate speech if written on paper. Second, the messaging should have been shared with the entire school, if not the entire school district. Children talk to each other outside of their classrooms. They talk in the hallways, they interact with each other in social lives outside of school, and they see each other at lunch, among other places. The entire community needs to hear that Westborough rejects hate speech entirely, that we do not support diversity of opinion on this issue. We Care has been advocating for the following policy. Number one, an immediate formation of a task force that would develop a transparent crisis intervention plan involving documentation of all steps taken to address instances of hate speech. Two, arrange for professional mediators and identity counselors to address children and teachers and staff at schools in Westborough, address incidents at school-wide lineups, clearly take a stand as a community against hate. Three, counseling for affected children. Four, training for teachers to guide discussion in the classroom after these incidents, not burying our heads in the sand. Five, a clear and diligent reporting of data on hate crimes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. Can everyone hear me okay?
Yes.
I'm Carrie Walco Henry, 70 Milk Street. I have two kids, one in 8th grade. She's going to be heading to the high school next year, and one in 2nd grade. I'm here tonight to address the concerns, the requests, and the challenges you've encountered over the district's health and sex education content and parents' requests for clarification. I understand that you stand for and represent all students in the district, and that you need to be accessible and listen to all parents. There are many, many instances where it is so important to take in and make adjustments in responses to multiple perspectives and to hear both sides. There are also instances where that is not acceptable. When concerns or requests are rooted in racism, it is not okay to consider both sides. When concerns or requests are rooted in homophobia, a both sides approach is not okay. When concerns or requests are rooted in transphobia, a both sides request is unacceptable. It's wrong, period, hard stop. Providing an inclusive, caring, protective, and safe space for all students means putting the safety of marginalized students in the forefront and modeling for other students how to stand up against hate and discrimination. I'm requesting the following. Please release a public statement in response to Next Benedict. Please release a public statement detailing exactly where the district stands on racism, homophobia, and transphobia, and what is actively being done to provide a safe space for LGBTQ+ student community at this time. And finally, please provide transparency and clarification in written form about how necessary, informative, and life-saving resources like Out Metro West and the Trevor Project are available and accessible to all students without requiring them to out themselves when they need them. Please do better. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Sarah McCabe, 28 Mill Road. As we all know, there's many non-binding citizens petitions on our town warrant this year. And I don't need to give them any more description or airtime than that. They've taken up enough, and you all know what they are. Non-binding still gives a sense of the meeting vote, and for that reason, I think it would be really essential for the school committee to vote in open session at the town meeting on these citizens petitions, if that's possible. Your support or non-support of these articles sends an important message to the educators and to the students of Westborough. My hope is that these articles end there and this mockery of our town government doesn't continue to be manipulated any further. Thank you for considering.
Thank you. We'll get there.
You came first, and then you were.
I know. Hi, Marie Sorensen, 33 O'Neill Drive. I have an 8-month-old. My partner, Michael, and I are raising him. He's a chemical engineer. I'm a licensed architect and master planner, and my firm is based here in town. I had an opportunity to tour Armstrong School today, which is where Jamie is going to be attending school, most likely based on the current bus route maps. I wanted to note that the 1954 portion of the building, which is about 40% of the building, has the potential for vinyl asbestos tile to be present in the floor surfaces, that there may be hidden mold in the ceilings due to the roof leak that occurred 2 years ago, that air conditioning is not present in that portion of the building, and there's extreme heat affecting, us all over. In all buildings, extreme heat is an issue. The building is very exposed to the sun and has the potential for interior temperatures to rise very high. The 2018 portion of the building is mostly fine. You have one room with no window. The 1999 portion of the building, the air conditioning is not working in the gymnasium, nor anywhere else in the building. The same comment applies regarding high heat temperatures. Also daylighting is very important to young children, and the carnivalesque colors that are painted throughout that wing are not conducive to spreading daylight around. I just would summarize that lack of daylight overall, no working air conditioning, no fresh air ventilation, and the potential for mold and asbestos exposure make me very concerned about sending my son to this school, especially since we know that infant and young children's bodies are more susceptible to toxins entering their systems and then therefore turning into diseases later in life, including Alzheimer's. Just happen to know that from personal experience, having dealt with that with my mom, and we're still studying that with her. I'd like to ask when the capital plan intends to replace the 1954 portion of the building, and to propose that that would be a high priority. In fact, higher, in my perspective, than acquiring a new senior center, community center, located far from the center of town and not in a very walkable area. Children should be a very high priority due to their, very sensitive immune systems and bodies that are developing. I just wanted to know when I could follow up on understanding when the capital program intends to address these issues with Armstrong School.
If you're all set, could you put that in writing to us?
I can pull the clip from Westborough TV to save you writing. It's okay.
Yep.
I'll just send you the clip.
I do want to thank you for your comments, and we will look into it.
Thank you very
As you know, we've been actively pursuing issues in all schools, and certainly those points can be considered. Generally, we have reviewed asphalt content in every building. Can't say offhand that I know that we did there, but we will. So thank you for your comments.
You're welcome. Thank you all very much. Appreciate it.
Let's see, one more, sir.
Brandon Tomensky, 36 Robin Road. I wanted to speak tonight in reference to the links being removed from the 9th grade sex education class slides.
Could you speak in the microphone, please?
My understanding of this was that while the links were removed, information from these sites will still be used to guide the curriculum in class. I appreciate that some of the information is still provided. However, I do have a concern about why this was done and the overall support of students in the LGBTQIA community in our schools. My ask is, before a change as impactful as this is made based on the inaccurate concerns that are raised by some, concerns that are not reflective of the majority of parents and students, perhaps you can have a transparent process that would involve communicating with all parents, taking feedback from students who are most impacted by the decision, consider alternative solutions, and working collaboratively to address things in a way that doesn't send the harmful message that was sent. Transparency is key because this change was not made in a vacuum and is being read in the context of things going on in town to try and roll back the progress made with LGBTQIA anti-racist equity initiatives. Removing resources like this reinforces the idea that we are taking another step back with the aim to avoid sacrificing the comfort of some at the expense of those that need support. Thank you.
Thank you. Amber, do you want to comment on any discussion here?
I have brief comments tonight. I'm not going to speak to the wide array. I just want to comment that I thought it was highly inappropriate that Sarah McCabe was inappropriately addressed by someone making public comment. I think it was just, I just want to be on record as saying, I think it's just highly inappropriate that anyone would use this mic. We're public servants. They can talk. I'm an elected official. You're elected. I'm an employee. But Sarah, I'm sorry that someone spoke inappropriately and used your name. I think you're very professional and a great parent. So I'm sorry about that. We've invited there's a range of discussions that I think are more appropriate. Our forum here is not for the quality of conversation that is required. I would rather we have invited this amazing group of people who care about these things to come and meet with us. The same thing we have done with any group who has had a series of questions. I think we need that time to sit with you, to answer questions, to go through the way we do use process, professional judgment, and all the pieces that are necessary to make good decisions. And I feel comfortable with the decisions we made. I think so did the health department. And I'm really looking forward to the chance to talk to those and reassure them that I don't believe that we make curriculum decisions based on process, and we will represent what we think needs to happen. And I think somebody in their comments indicated, but we do take feedback, and we take it from everyone who wants to bring it to us, whose children are schooled with us. And if the feedback matches with a change that makes sense to us, we were responsive. And I think in this case, we thought we were, and we're very happy to sit and talk about it. If after that meeting they want to come back here and we want to summarize it, which is the same methodology we used before, I think that makes the most sense. So I'd like to invite that group because I think they've got a series of questions. We'll work with them, have a couple reps from the committee join us, which I think has been a good practice. We'll have a couple of our curriculum people, department heads, counselors join us so they get a full opportunity to speak in depth and then get information that I think gives them an opportunity to clarify where they feel they still have questions, and we can summarize it for you at the next meeting. All right?
Very good. Thank you.
you.
The next item on the agenda for the school committee is an executive session. Could you read the notice?
My pleasure. I make a motion that we move into executive session under Mass General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 21A2, to discuss contract negotiations with non-union personnel, which is the superintendent position, and under Mass General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 21A6, to consider the purchase, exchange, lease, or value of real property at 15 East Main Street. Is there a second?
Second.
Do a roll call vote.
Moscow, yes?
Vincent, yes.
Correct, yes.
Bachelor, yes.
Just say Shamsuddin,
Student,
yes.
yes, sorry.
Sorry, I wanted to say thank you. Remember. I'm gonna miss you.
Tammy, you can stay if you want.
For executive session?
Yep.
All right, I'll stay. You want to? Since I was involved with it.
For the record, we were in executive session. We roll called out of executive session 5-0, and the committee will take the following action. First is there a motion on signing the contract for our new superintendent?
I would like to move to sign the contract for our new superintendent.
Is there a second?
I second.
All those in favor? Aye. 5-0-0. The next one is executing the lease agreement on behalf of the schools for, I think it's 15 East Main Street, to continue the contract. And what's included in the contract is the renovation of the basement for additional school space, for which the lease agreement considers the repayment of the value of those improvements over a number of years, more than, let's see, the lease goes to 33, and so it would be repaid over that period of time. Is there a motion?
Yeah, I'd like to move to execute the lease agreement for the property located at 15 East Main Street.
Is there a second?
Can we, go ahead.
Go ahead.
I need to amend the motion to be the lease amendment, not lease agreement.
Yes. Yeah. For clarity, we have an existing lease. It has 2 amendments, and this would be the third, and it only deals with the renovation of the basement.
Good point.
So that's your motion.
Okay.
Yeah.
So moved. Do you want a second?
I'll second.
Okay.
Okay. Is there any discussion?
No.
Okay, no discussion. All those in favor? Aye. 5-0-0. That's it for tonight. Move to adjourn.
Second.
Those in favor? Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.